There's been lots of people that's commented on the channel saying how far behind they are in comparison to previous years. But it has been a very harsh start to the year. We've only just started to get into position where we feel confident enough to put things outside or even in ground in greenhouses. And I'm as late as anybody else. I keep going around garden and looking at what to do next. We've cleared a bit of ground in this greenhouse, ready for some tomato plants going in here. But we've also got a greenhouse out there that's got nothing in it. And that's very rare for me. Usually by now, every greenhouse is full. It's got tomato plants in it at this size. This year we've got tomato plants about that big, apart from some that we brought on a little earlier in bigger pots. The only conclusion you can reach with that is that it's better to be safe than sorry. Every year that you do gardening is going to be different. I don't think I've ever had one year the same as any other. We've had freak storms, hailstones, snow, -4 temperatures in the middle of April, and bad winds as well that have wreaked havoc on greenhouses and plants alike, knocking a lot of plants flat to soil, especially things like potatoes. You're not behind, everybody's behind. There's pretty much nothing you can do about it except look forward to now, because we have turned that corner. It is getting a lot warmer, the days are getting brighter. Next week the temperatures are set to get a lot warmer. So this week and next week it's going to be a case of going round and making sure everything is finally prepped and things are starting to go in. We're going to be doing a lot more container planting, and we're going to be doing a lot more planting in his greenhouses that's got nothing in at the moment. And I think that's why this year we're doing so much more container gardening, because you can protect plants like that better. This one is a cherry falls, and it's a dwarf cherry tomato plant, and you can see just how much growth that's put on, and it's a really healthy looking plant as well. The only thing I need to be doing with plants like this is removing some of those bottom leaves there. We don't take the side shoots away from these type of plants because these will only flower and fruit once, but all these little leaves at the bottom aren't going to do anything, so we need to take those away. Try and get as much energy into these branches, and especially when your tops start to come into flower like that. It's got a lot of flowers on it already, and there is a lot more to come. But just by having it a container that we can move from one place to another when we see fit, even to the point where something like this, you can take it indoors overnight, just in case there's a really late frost. So that's why we're doing it. And we did exactly the same with this courgette. You'll remember probably only a week ago that we put this plant in here, and it's just getting bigger and bigger every single day, and loads of new growth coming on that bottom as well. It's set up, it's portable, and it's very low maintenance, especially when it comes to things like weeds. You basically don't get any when you're doing containers. And we didn't do really well with those dwarf broad beans that we grew, but there's plenty of time to grow more. Very fast growing plants. You always reach a point with these when they're only an inch or two tall. You get that with roots. The roots grow really quick on these plants, but they are growing, and that's the main thing. And that's all due to this weather all of a sudden shifting. And that's why we started moving his peppers really late in season as well. We've got peppers in little 9cm pots still, when normally they'd have already been in these 2 litre ones. And we've only just transferred those this week, and we've still got lots more of these to do. But once again, regardless of weather, it's not stopping those aphids. They're a complete nuisance. But it's not that you can't get rid of them, and we have done videos on that. And we're still sowing more and more pots of these. These are salads, that we prick out as individual plants and then move on. And we've got loads and loads in there, really good size, ready to be moved. More than ready to be moved, in fact. And same with that one. But these have all shot up in the last week or so. I've still got loads and loads of tomato plants in these 9cm pots, and they're not very big at all. But these have gone up by an inch or more in the last week. It's just been a very slow progress for pretty much everything this year. But again, summer's tomato plants are like this. We potted them on quite early in season and gave them lots of protection, and they've really shot up, more than ready to be planted out now. And we have started putting tomatoes in containers as well, as you've probably seen on a previous video. But the comparison to that and that, but we moved these into bigger pots obviously a lot sooner, and they've just shot up now thanks to that weather. So I've got to a point this year where I'm just thinking I'm not going to bother potting these on. I'm just going to put them in ground as they are. I don't want to be potting things on and wasting any more time. I just want things in and get them going. So that's what I'm going to be doing this week. The plants that I've got at this size, we grew these like this for a reason, because these are the ones that's going to go in those containers. And that's another sweet million. And we're also putting some Italian plum tomatoes in containers as well. And the one that you saw previous, the quite big one, that's that Cherry Falls. So we've got 3 varieties that we're putting in containers, and the ones we sowed a little bit later due to the weather not being very good are the very small ones that you've just seen, and they're the ones that we've grown to put in ground. So everybody this year is so far behind. I can see butterflies aren't far behind. They're already here, so make sure you cover your brassicas up before they get to them. We have been coming out quite often doing work outside. We've just cut all this grass again because it's been raining so much. That grass soon shoots up. Grass and weeds seem to be the only things that's doing really well over the last few weeks, but as long as we keep on top on it, we'll be alright. But this greenhouse, for example, has got nothing in it. It's not even been cleaned up yet, and the wind has blown part of it in from that back there, which we need to fix. It needs digging, it needs weeding. But we started off early this year putting Chinese cabbage in here, and the slugs basically destroyed every one. And then the weather turned really bad, so we've just not done anything with this. But we are going to do this week, now it's getting a bit warmer. And I've uncovered all those hoop tunnels this morning as well, to start doing some weeding. Because we've got lots of onions in here, but we've also got the odd weed that needs pulling out. Pretty much most on it is clear. Just a few bits and bobs that we need to sort out. They're growing really happily. And so are these shallots. They seem perfectly fine. And we've already weeded this one, so that's not looking too bad. But in this bed, we've got a volunteer potato plant that's come up there, so I just left it. But some at bed's got nothing in it. We've got little broccoli plants that are starting to get some signs of life. But we also had another 2 just there. Unfortunately, last week they went to seed, and they're only as big as that, but they bolted, so we had to take them out because they're no good. We've got some bigger broccoli plants in here, or calabrese, which seem alright at the moment anyway. Quite big plants, but we always seem to have problems with these bolting. And then we've got more onions. It's the only things that seem to be doing alright at the moment. But we need to get the net back on these 2, because now we know those butterflies are around. We don't want to take risk of them laying eggs on these brassicas, because then we're going to have massive problems with caterpillars as well. We put loads of red cabbage in here last year. Really small plants, tiny little things to grow on for a spring harvest, and they've not even started forming heads yet. So this is basically a waste of a greenhouse, so I might just pull them all out and fill it with peppers instead, or something like that. I don't want to be waiting half a season for a few cabbages, and they don't transplant very good either, so that's a decision to be made at some point this week. And the same goes with these Savoy cabbages, red cabbage. I think I'm going to take them out because they're starting to look a bit strange. I just don't think they're going to come to anything. They've been in here way too long. That one's trying to fold in on itself, but it's a waste again. They're a greenhouse. Because as it gets hotter, and we know it's going to get quite a bit hotter over the next couple of weeks, so the chances are these brassicas are going to bolt anyway, because they just weren't ready at the time that we wanted them to be. And we've already took cauliflowers, our tray. We harvested one, every other one bolted, so we've replaced it now with these tomato plants, and those are the Italian plum ones. We've got a couple of small ones and then a couple of big ones that we grew on, again protected for a few weeks. All the strawberries are starting to come into flower though. That's something. Not be long before we start taking strawberries from here. And we put a net up here and some canes for some beans to grow up. But I pulled it all down this morning. I kind of lost interest in it because we protected it as much as we could, yet slugs have still devastated it. We stopped the pigeons in the tracks with that netting, but the slugs had their day. So I've just pulled it all up and I'm just leaving them now. I'm going to stick to dwarf varieties this year, I think. But peas are definitely doing alright. And oak blossoms have finished now on this patio pear tree. This is twice size that it were last year. And now we've got pears starting to grow on it. Then we've got perennial flowers that we put in last year. They're perfectly happy. They're all shooting back into life now. And starting to flower as well. And that castor oil plant is starting to put a bit of fresh growth out as well. And then we've got this perennial flower. Really nice display of tiny blue flowers. I think so far the only thing that's doing really well is this container garden. And we're already taking lots of harvests from this every week. So we plan on doing a lot more. These parsnips are thickening up nicely as well. I'm not sure if there's anything in there. We'll just leave that a bit longer. But something's happening. Lots and lots of fresh salad. So since this is working out really well, we'll just keep adding to it. I've got a bigger Calabrese here as well. It's gone a bit to one side. We didn't plant that deep enough originally, but that looks like it's starting to go to seed. Got all that yellow coming on now. So that's probably going to end up being no good. We'll just see how it goes. So after a quick look round, you can see that the situation is exactly the same here as it is for everyone else. We've got empty greenhouses. We've got greenhouses that's got plants in from last autumn that were for a spring harvest that are still not even attempting to form an head. And now there's a very good chance, as this weather gets warmer, that they're going to bolt. So we've wasted all that time. And if we just wait and wait and wait to see if something does happen, and then they bolt anyway, we've lost quite a lot at growing season, when we could fill that greenhouse with more tomatoes or peppers and not waste the plants that we've just grown that are looking really healthy. So that's going to be decision time at some point this week, whether I just pull all the lot up and replace them with some warm season plants now, or just wait. And I think I'm kind of swinging towards pulling them up. It's mid-May now, so we've got June, July, August, September at a push. That's 4 months of growing for all this fruits, there's peppers, there's tomatoes, cucumbers and squash. So since those plants have been in for such a long time already, that is what's swinging me towards just getting on with things that we know are going to work. Otherwise we've spent all that time growing these for nothing, because they'll get wasted as well. So it's not you, it's this weather, it's this country, it's this climate. It's a mixture of everything. But these things, as they say, are sent to test us, and we've just got to adapt to it. We've got to change with the times and decide what's best for you. And I think at the moment I am definitely swinging more towards doing a lot more container gardening in the future.